Shalom Aleichem and welcome to Machin Leira online smicha. We find that obviously Shabbos is a holy day, a special day, and you have to honor it in many ways. One of the things that you have to honor it with is wearing special, clean, nice clothing. So much so that it's not only something that starts on Shabbos, but we know that Ezra HaSefer was misaking that everybody should do. Obviously, we're talking back then when laundry wasn't so common. That Ezra made a takana that you must wash your clothes every Thursday. So you should have clean clothes for Shabbos. What's the mucker for having special clothes for Shabbos? So in Siman Reis Samach Beis, the Torah writes, Yishtadel sheyiu lo begadim noim l'Shabbos. One should try to have nice, clean clothes for Shabbos. And he brings the famous pasuk from Yeshaya. The pasuk says, V'chibadetoi, you should honor a Shabbos, covered. And the Alter Rebbe says, and the Gemara says that a person should not have the same clothes that he wears during the week, should not be the same as Shabbos. And the Alter Rebbe in Siv Gimel, in Siman Reish Samach Beis Siv Gimel, the Alter Rebbe explains that what is covered, how does honoring Shabbos apply to clothing? Because we know that when a person is dressed fancy, dressed normal or nicer, he automatically gets more honor. So clothing creates honor. And if the Torah says, if the Navi says, V'chibadetah, you should honor Shabbos, so this is one of the ways it should be done. So you should have special Shabbos clothing. Now, back then when you didn't have too much, so Ezra was taka misakin, that you should clean, make sure you have the clothing during the week is washed now for Shabbos. And the Gemara has many, many stories of Tanoim and Amoraim, how they were makpid to do so. It's interesting to note that the Mishnah Berurah writes in Siman Reish Samach Beis Sivkat Nevav that this wearing Shabbos clothing does nothing to do with if anybody is around or not. You could be somewhere on a trip on your own, somewhere in Hicktown. It's to honor Shabbos. Shabbos is there just as it's in your hometown. For the honor of Shabbos, you have to wear Shabbos clothing even if nobody will see you. Now the Gemara in Shabbos, in Daf Kuf Yudalad Amud Aleph, the Gemara says, how do we know that certain times, in certain services, you have to change clothing? So the Gemara says, Shanamar upashat es begada v'lavash begadim acherim. That the Kohen had to take off one set of clothing, put on others. Says the Gemara, Tana Devei Rabbi Shmuel, Limdach Torah Derachares, the Torah teaches you manners, that the garments that begardim shabishul behem kedera l'rabbi, the garments that you use to cook food for your master, that's not the same clothing you should wear when you serve your master. So the Marsha, in that Gemara, the Marsha says, Le'inyan shinoi bigdei Shabbos maisila. The same Gemara applies for Shabbos. That on the Erev Shabbos, where a whole week you have the hustle or bustle and you're working, and that's the cooking, working in those garments. So on Shabbos, don't use those clothing to serve your master, meaning serve and honor Shabbos and keep Shabbos, not in the same clothing as you were cooking for Shabbos. So we see other limordim, other sources for this. Now, some say it goes as far as possibly being min ha-Torah. Because of this, it is customary that people have special Shabbos clothing, if you're able to. Not like in the olden times where you made an effort, as I mentioned, Ezra HaSefer was misakin, you wash your clothing. Today's days, Baruch Hashem, the Eibush has given us more. So you have designated Shabbos clothing. Now, it's very interesting to note that Bechlau and Chassidus and Kabbalah, clothing is considered something which conceals the inner truth, the identity of the person. Meaning to say, it's a lavush, it surrounds, it covers what the pnimius is. By Big Day Shabbos, however, Chassidus and Kabbalah says it's not concealing what you are. Chassidus interprets the Big Day Shabbos as such an important thing, and it's so spiritual that it actually brings out your pnimius. Now, what type of clothing should you have? So, from the Gemara, it's mashma, and there are sources for this, that obviously it should be different ones. And the Gemara says if a person can't change, at least he should lower them, make him lower. So that became the mucker why on Shabbos people wear longer eklach, longer jackets, which became the source for the kapata. In the kapata itself, it's brought in the Chassidish Svarim, and it's brought that the Rebbe Rashab instituted. It's brought in Hemshech Taf Ayin Reish Beis Chelik Beis at the end of Amud Taf Ayin Beis, that the Rebbe Rashab insisted that all his Chassidim should wear Zaydin kapatis, silk kapatis on Shabbos, and he went as far as saying even if somebody doesn't have money, he should sell whatever he has to buy a silk kapata, to specifically buy a silk kapata. Silk. There's something special about silk and Shabbos. Now, why? Because according to Kabbalah, whereas the clothing of during the week come from Olam HaYetzira, Big Day Shabbos come from Olam HaBriya. And therefore you have the Big Day Shabbos are from silk, because silk is from Bachai, and it's not from, as usual, that you have from wool, from Semeach. And therefore, as it's a Kabbalah, it's a higher level, you do that. Now, it's preferable that you should have everything new on Shabbos. Everything new and everything clean, dedicated once for Shabbos. In the history of Chabad, we find that the Alter Rebbe and the Tzemach Tzedek used to wear only white on Shabbos. And that's why we find the pictures of the Tzemach Tzedek. One of the pictures is a drawing that a guy happened to see the Tzemach Tzedek on Shabbos, and that's how he drew the picture of the Tzemach Tzedek, is wearing white. Amongst Klal Yisrael, there are many people that wear a shtreimel, specifically only Shabbos. And they say actually there's a rembes for this, that shtreimel is a Rosh Tevis Shabbos. Shabbos is a Rosh Tevis shtreimel b'mokim tefillin. I put a shtreimel in the place where I usually have a tefillin. Okay, and one of the reasons they wear a shtreimel is to show that on Shabbos you're able to uplift, you're able to elevate even the lowest of things. A shtreimel, which is fur, which comes from the tail of an animal, even that could raise to a higher level on Shabbos. Now, the Shabbos clothing is so important that it's brought in the Shara Kavanis that whatever clothing you wear during Shabbos and whatever color clothing you wear on Shabbos, that's what you will wear in the world to come in Olam HaElyon, in Yom HaShabbos. Now, a person should not think that it's only clothing, it's secondary. So I'll share with you one story. There's many, many stories of the effect that Shabbos clothing has on a person. Ad kedei kach, I'll introduce you with another story. There was once a discussion by a Fabrengen of Hasidim, and they said, who says that the clothes is so important? Let's put it to test. Maybe it's just in the mindset, when people get dressed up, they feel special. So let's get dressed up on Tuesday, and we'll see if Tuesday will feel different. And guess what? They got dressed up on Tuesday, and they also felt that it's a special day. So they came complaining to the Rebbe, their Rebbe, hey, so it's not really something special about Shabbos. It's just whenever a person dresses up nicely, it's just a different atmosphere. So the Rebbe asked them, when you got dressed up on Tuesday, did you just put on a regular suit, or did you put on the Big Day Shabbos on Tuesday? Because yes, if you put the Big Day Shabbos on Tuesday, the Big Day Shabbos has an effect to turn a regular Tuesday into a spiritual day. So Big Day Shabbos has a very strong effect. There's a story with the Meir Einayim. The Meir Einayim used to go every Friday afternoon to the mikveh with his children, with his son, and his son would bring his clothing. And when he came out of the mikveh, the son, he had his Shabbos clothing that he got dressed and got ready for Shabbos. One time, the son got one of the Shabbos socks of his father dirty, so he didn't have time to go run and get another pair of socks. So he replaced the one of the new Shabbos socks, the clean Shabbos sock, with a sock that his father already wore, and he just put it in the pile. The father didn't realize. The Meir Einayim didn't realize. Got dressed, and he went to Shabbos. Went to shul. That night he had terrible feet pain, and he said, "What's going on? What's going on? What's going on?" Until they found out that the foot pain that he had was because of the sock that he didn't replace as a Shabbos garment that caused him terrible pain. Because Shabbos clothing has a tremendous effect on the body on Shabbos.